Architectural Builders Supply is pleased to present you with this recording of the technical question that is listed in the title of this video.
This call may be monitored and recorded for quality assurance.
I got a pretty heavy door.
Load rating on a hinge. Yeah, I can, provided the manufacturer makes that available,
Yeah. It's a Cal Royal, and the number on it's Bravo 5210.
A BB5210? BB5200? No.
Yeah, 5210.
52. There is no 5210. There is a 5200.
Okay, well, I'm looking at it on your website here.
What's the exact part number? How it reads?
Cal Royal BB 5210.
Let's take a look.
Okay.
Okay. What's the deal with that? Well, the similar hinges like this are going to be rated for 175 pounds, 200 pounds, something in that range. Cal Royal doesn't have has any guidance, but also the load is really going to be dependent on the height, and I think this is a 5-inch hinge. And generally, you get another 20% out of that. But you get beyond a 225-pound door, and it's time to leave hinges.
Okay. All right. So sounds like you're who I need to talk to, because I've got one door that's probably going to weigh about 320, and the other door weighs about 280.
Yeah, pivots would. So you can, there are hinges that the manufacturers will say that will do it. Stanley's got a really nice chart. But really, when you get to those door weights, you should be moving to a pivot because of how that weight is born.
I'm kind of new at this. I just built these custom doors for my home that I'm building, and I don't really know what do you mean a pivot? What is that?
It's a device that will sit on the floor, and the door will sit on top of that, and all of the weight is borne by the earth, what it's sitting on, rather than a hinge coming down to a very small surface area, stressing the jamb. 70% of the weight of the door is held by that top hinge, so it's a very uneven, way to distribute such substantial weight.
Okay.
Plus when you get into these larger hinges, you're approaching the cost of pivots anyway.
Yeah.
A standard.
I put like 4 of them on each door, but. So
well,
you
can put 10. It's just the majority of the weight's held by that top hinge or that top area.
Right.
So it's a pivot's going to be the way that you would want to go if you have the choice to do that.
Okay, so do you guys have them? Can I type in pivot hinge? Or
you certainly can, but I would suggest that you type in the number 0147.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, so that's an offset pivot. Depending on the height of the door, you would certainly want to add a intermediate pivot, at least one. And, because everything's borne by that, all the weight is transferred down to that bottom pivot. You're not stressing the frame at all. It's the most elegant way to swing a door.
All right. And
now, in the world of pivots, the 0147 is just the part number that popped into my head that I know would hit your weight requirements. Your next journey is a dive into the catalog. It says, okay, let me see the other pivots that they have. There will be others, but they're going to be rated for about 250 pounds. and they're
Okay.
not going to be that much less expensive. So
Okay. And so let's just take this 0147 here I've got pulled up, and it actually comes with the top and the bottom.
yeah.
Yeah.
So when you buy a pivot, you're inherently
Mhm.
buying the top and bottom set. You don't have to
Okay.
specify the top pivot separately. It's going to come. You have to go out of your way to actually not get the top pivot. What's not included is an intermediate. Like, so if you were going to have 4 hinges on that door, that tells me either you're compensating for a standard height door or your door's north of 90-inch tall and 4 hinges would be appropriate.
No, it's only an 80-inch door, but it's just
Yeah.
it's a 2.5-inch solid wood.
So 2 things on that. You would want one intermediate pivot. Number 2,
Okay.
you'd want to order pivots for the door thickness so that it moves the part that gets mortised to the door and jamb into the center of the door. And a custom door thickness would affect the cost, not substantially, but it would. And it would certainly affect the lead time because I'd have to make that for that 2.5-inch door thickness. You can use a standard pivot, but it's meant for 1 3/4. So your parts are going to be biased 3/8 in the wrong, and to the pull side. May or may not be a big deal, and most people say that it's not, I would think. But if it was me, I'd want the pivot meant for the door thickness.
Yeah. Okay. And so just looking at these pivots, this is the first time I've ever put my eyes on one. And how's that actually mounting to my floor or the wow.
So it sits right on the top of the floor.
Okay.
And generally, a threshold would be coped around it.
Okay.
There are other pivots that can be screwed to the jamb, but they still sit on the floor. But that sits right on the floor.
Okay. And so what you're saying is the threshold would be around that, yet still be able to seal. It just looks kind of funny to me there.
Yeah, it's definitely a commercial look. The next time you go into any aluminum storefront, it's possible they'll have pivots. So that would be the look. So I'm going to pull up the Stanley catalog and see what kind of weight range they talk about for a 5-inch hinge. You might want to be at a 6-inch hinge. Okay, Stanley Hardware. Okay. Medium duty, 300 pounds. Yeah, so a 6x6 would be a good size hinge for the weight and the thickness. 6x6 would be really nice.
And you're talking about a 6x6 is a regular hinge?
Yeah, just a large butt hinge. Yeah.
Okay, like the original one I was looking at, just a bigger one.
Oh yeah, the 5x4.5. I think the chart says you need to go larger. Yeah, you don't have enough hinge for the weight of the door.
Okay. What's the number that the Stanley you're talking about I can look at here?
So let me run it first to see if we're going to find one. Okay, so that part number is CB, as in Charlie Bravo, 168. CB 168, and that will come up. The issue is we don't have them in the site in taller than 5-inch. They are extremely unusual. 4B 81. Let's look. Okay, here's well, those are 8-inch. Yeah, 8 inches is overkill. But the CB 168 would be the hinge type. It's a very clean looking hinge. It is what they call a concealed bearing. So it will give you the benefit of a friction reduced sort of installation, but in a very clean look. You don't see the bearing packets between the knuckles. That's a heavyweight hinge, so it's probably going to be about 200 thousandths on a 6-inch. The 6/8 in the part number means the base material is steel. If we change that to a 9/9, that will be a non-ferrous base material like stainless or brass. So you can do different base materials, obviously different finishes. Lead time on the Stanley material would probably be about 4 weeks, although it might be a little aggravated at this time because there's some weird factory shutdown that's happening that I learned about yesterday. Stanley's good. Bomber can do the job as well. McKinney can do it. They can all make them. So the chart says a 6-inch hinge will handle the weight in a medium frequency use. When you get that tall, a pivot's the better way to go, because I'm thinking a decade down the road.
Right. Yeah, it's 80 inches tall. So now
you know what? I'm sorry, but just to throw in the mix, concealed hinges as well. Sauce would be a great option. It'll easily handle the weight, and you don't see the hinge at all, provided your opening can accommodate it. You don't have any conflict with trim, things of that nature. Sauce would be really nice.
What's the number on that?
That number, type in 220 followed by US as in Uniform Sierra, the numbers 26, then the letter D as in Delta.
Okay.
And then click on the first one that comes up.
Oh, wow.
So that's a pretty cool hinge, completely concealed when the door is closed, and it will handle the weight.
Yeah. How many of those do you think I would need?
Well, let's take a look. How wide is your door?
I got one that's 36, and I got one that's 44.
Yeah, you should really have 4 hinges on that door because of the weight. You would put 4 of them on there.
On both of them?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And that's their standard line. They've got a line that's more robust in terms of weight. These guys can swing 1,000-pound doors.
Yeah. So I'd need eight of those.
Yeah, dollar for dollar, that sauce hinge is the way to go. Dollar for dollar. It's the cheap. Yeah. It's the most bang for your buck. But yeah, that's some good stuff.
So when that, okay. And what's the lead time on some of these?
I've got at least a gross in stock.
Yeah.
Depending on the finish, I'm looking at satin chrome.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, when the door's closed, you can't see the hinge. I don't really know if I care what color it is.
Well, true, but you do get an option. Your brasses, your bronze, your chromes, your nickels, things like that.
Yeah. So we're talking about 6. Talking about $500.
62 times 8. 60. Yeah. Just north of that with freight, but it's going to be right in that area.
Yeah. And how long does it take to get some of those?
I got them all over the country, East, West, Midwest.
Oh wow.
2 or 3 days maybe.
Yeah. And like just looking at these soft hinges here, what screws do they take?
Well, they're going to come with wood screws.
Okay.
They're certainly not assuming you need metal screws.
Right. Well, it's a red cedar is what the door's made out of. So, yeah. And what's your name?
My name is Richard.
Okay, Richard. And You're very informative. You're the first person I've really talked to that's, hey, this is, ding, ding, ding. And this kind of impressed me.
Yeah. So the conversation should go a little deeper, I think, before you actually are like, okay, here's my credit card when it comes to the sauce hinge. And I would suggest that you scroll down and review all of those links that are there. There is a commandment, so to speak, when it comes to sauce. You can't violate the E dimension. And when you study the template, you'll be like, oh, I see. I can't have that hinge inset any further than that dimension. Meaning you take that door and you swing it to 90. Well, if you've got really thick trim or casing, it ain't going to go past 90 because the door is going to hit, the brick mold or the lattice or whatever might happen to be there, chair rail.
Okay.
So just study that stuff, and by all means, I'm happy to field clarifications. I just don't sell these. I've mortised for these lots of times, and they're a favorite of mine. You could buy the one template, so you don't have to make your own template. Assuming you're going to route these, use a router, and the template's probably $30, and it'll make life a lot easier to put the router onto the tool.
Yeah. Huh. Okay. Okay.
So, in all, just to be clear, there are variations on the sauce hinge as well that are about 3 times the cost. Same principle, but they're adjustable in all 3 axes. So you can scooch it left, right, front, back, up, down, slightly, 90 thousandths, that kind of thing. I don't like those hinges because I'm concerned about the long-term it staying put, so to speak, because you've got screws that you use to manipulate that. Sauce has said, we are never going to make that hinge. You prep the door and the frame for the hinge where it needs to be prepped, and in 30 years, I've never had a problem with the sauce hinge. Last year, a guy walked in and says, I got a bad sauce hinge. And he showed it to me, and it was physically bent. And I says, my God, I've never seen this. What happened? I says, did someone do chin-ups on the door? He says, it's on a bookcase, and 2 kids climbed up to the top of the bookcase and sat on top of it. So just to prove how durable these hinges are, the guy who patented it, I don't care. He says, I don't care how heavy the door is, keep throwing sauce hinges at it. So anyway. Okay. And so when I call this number I just called, you're usually one I get to talk to, or? I if I don't answer the phone, just ask for me. Okay. Well, I didn't write your name down. I'll go. It's Richard, right? Oh, yes, sir. My name's Richard. Yeah. Okay. All right, Rich. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'm going to study these, and I'm going to study some of these PDFs they've got. And then if I got some more questions, I'll call you before I order them, okay? Absolutely. I'm experienced with how to prep for all of the products we've talked about, so by all means. Richard, thank you for your help. I really do appreciate it. You have a great day. Same to you, sir. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Architectural Builders Supply hopes you have enjoyed this program. Again, thank you for watching, and if you've enjoyed this video, please click thumbs up, please subscribe, and maybe even send the video to someone that you know. Thank you.